What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin. Thanks for being here. Today, I'm going to dive into understanding the subconscious mind because it's a very valuable tool, and with enough awareness, we can actually work with it rather than it work against us. So, let's dive in. The subconscious mind. Basically, it's your invisible operating system. And it doesn't really care what's true and what's not true. It just accepts and stores. So, some examples of inputs would be the music you listen to, the people you surround yourself with, the movies you watch, the thoughts you have on a day-to-day basis. All of these things are programming your subconscious mind. So the more that we immerse ourselves in certain environments or we consume certain material, that's what's going to shape our life in a nutshell. So really, what I want to bring this back to is what our repeated thoughts are, which then form our beliefs, what our repeated images and focus that we put our attention onto, and what are our repeated emotions. Because our thoughts, beliefs, actions then dictate our emotions. So if we're thinking that, if we're in sort of like a lack-based mentality where we fear something isn't going to work out or that everything's fucked, that carries an emotion. And the more that we hold on to that, the more that'll drive that into our subconscious, and the more that we're going to have that experience on a day-to-day basis. So really, what you consume will consume you at the end of the day. And it does take a lot of accountability and ownership, because ultimately, from this perspective, we are creating our reality. And without that understanding, we don't have a chance to shape it. And we're just run by the programs that we've taken on. So, yeah, it's a big one, guys. Now, a key thing I want to highlight is that there's not really a difference between reality, dreaming, and visualization. So reality, you could say, is what we experience. Dreaming is what we can what we can imagine, and we might have this in our sleep, but we can daydream. And visualization is the conscious awareness to visualize what you want to create. And the funny thing is the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between any of them. It doesn't understand that visualizing something is different from reality. So if we want to use the subconscious mind in our favor, the more that we visualize and embody what we want to be experiencing, the more likely that that's going to follow. So I'm hoping you get the gist of what I'm saying. I guess a really good distinction to make is the conscious mind is when you're conscious, like you're listening and watching this as I speak to you, and you're conscious. But your subconscious is also taking everything in at the same time. So even if we're not paying attention or we're in another place in our mind, it's all going in. It's all feeding into the subconscious. So, yeah, it's pretty. It takes a lot of accountability, but it's also really empowering if you can look at it in that way, because you really can shape your life. Now, a key thing that I want to highlight is sort of probably more around like movies and like entertainment, because if we're watching like really violent films, or we're watching horror films, or we're watching like drama TV, like all of that is being impressed, and then it's going to basically recreate those emotions in our day-to-day life. So for me, when I came to this realization, I just cut off everything that didn't make me feel good. And there's a differentiation between, what we enjoy and what's good for us. Because you might enjoy watching a movie and, tuning out. But it's really important that when we do that, when we're tuning out, we're actually tuning in. Whatever we're consuming is consuming us, ultimately. So, just looking at my notes here, make sure I'm on track. There's a few good tools that you can use. So, I think with this understanding, it kind of debunks the idea of affirmations. That's why they're so good. And might not feel like they're true when you're doing it. Like when you're writing, I'm amazing, I'm so proud of myself. It might not feel true, but the more that you do that, and the more that you can bring an emotion with that, then you're going to start to create more of that in your life, and you will start believing it eventually. So affirmations is a great tool. Visualization, which I touched on briefly, which is just really just visualizing what you want to be experiencing, what you want to be feeling, and really just bathing in that. It really is sort of like daydreaming. But the more that we can do it, the more we start to experience this in our day-to-day life. Meditation and breath work are going to be really useful. They allow us to create a distance between our thoughts and our emotions. So what we think, we can't stop all of the thoughts that we think every day, but we can create a gap where we don't attach to, say, negative thought patterns. And the more we can create that gap, then we can bring in affirmation, visualization, and then we start creating new neural pathways and new feeling states. Another one is environment curation. So I touched on that, but that's everything to do with what you watch, what you eat, what you listen to, your circle of friends, where you live. If you live in a depressing place, it's going to be really hard to experience something different from that. So really, really interesting. And lastly is repetition and emotional imprinting. So the feeling states that we can tap into, like if we can really think of something that has brought us a lot of joy in our life, or where we felt on top of the world, there's a feeling that we can tap into. And the more that we can tap into that and create an immersion within that, one, it feels good, but two, you're starting to reprogram your subconscious mind. And as I've said, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions are going to follow suit. So, yeah, it's something that really lights me up, to be honest, because it really gives us an autonomy gives us our autonomy back. A lot of us, especially myself, have felt maybe helpless or didn't know why I was the way that I am. And the reason why I am the way that I am, more so for most of my life, was because I was unconscious to all of these things, all of my inputs, the beliefs, the people, the circles that I surrounded myself in, all shaped who I became until I became conscious of it. So it's huge, guys. I guess what I want to finish off with is just a practice. Now, there's a free PDF in the description. Check it out. I break down all of this. That's what I'm reading off right now. Check it out, download it, come back to it. But the practice that I want to offer you is, if you can do this daily, incredible. Close your eyes for 3 to 5 minutes. Visualize your ideal self living your ideal day. How you want to be feeling, what you want to be doing. Anchor that feeling, that visual representation. Feel it, smell it, taste it. Breathe gratitude, abundance into your being. The more that we can create these windows where we're creating an impression, the more that that's going to override our old programming, essentially. And really, over time, this just becomes our subconscious blueprint. So it's on us, guys. See if you can do that every day. I've really been trying to make a habit of it recently, and it's phenomenal. A lot of this really is the center point of Joe Dispenza's work. If you haven't heard of Joe Dispenza, go check him out. I've been listening to Joe Dispenza for a long time, and it's really just started to click for me. It's a lot to take in and a lot to understand, but when it clicks, it clicks. So, with all of that said, I hope it was useful, and I hope it was valuable, and I hope you create the life of your dreams. Much love, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.